Hey everyone, how's it going? Here's a little update on one of my engines I'm building for my RX-7. It's a 1990s RX-7 S5 NA, high compression rotors 9.7 to 1. And pretty much what I did was a large street port on the intake runners on the primary. Went through, kind of opened up and funneled the injector ports a little better, along with porting both ports out. And then for the rotor housing, I deleted the butterfly flaps, ported those out completely, so now they are match ported. A lot bigger than stock. And then I did some water coolant mods as well. Go through with the drill bit, drill those out bigger. It allows more water to flow through. Gone through, punched a second hole right there, and went through with the die grinder and just knocked out all majority, if not all, the casting flash. So now the coolant will flow through the actual rotor housings a lot better. And then as for the front and rear irons, didn't really port this out much. I just actually just more or less cleaned up all the casting flash, opened it up a tiny bit, but mainly deleted the 5th and 6th actuator dead spot. So now there is no longer a dead spot inside here. And went through, ported it out inside there, so all this flows nicely. Same thing with the upper. You don't want to bring this up because this is almost at the highest point of combustion, or for the compression stroke of where you want it to cut off at. Opened up the half bridge. It's not really super clean on the back side. I could have done a better job, but the side seal, corner seals, none of that's even going to go anywhere near that. It's mainly going to ride along this edge. So I made sure that edge was completely cleaned up and no pretty much corners to grab on. You run your fingers across it, it's completely smooth. It doesn't feel like a razor blade. This is what the rear iron looks like. Same thing. Cleaned it all up. And then I went through and basically ported this out, got rid of all the casting flash, opened it up a little bit to where it's almost similar to the 5th and 6th actuator when it comes to the diameter of this actual port. So that's definitely going to flow more. And then I went through with the wire wheel, got a little crazy with it. Now it almost looks like it's polished. I'm basically going to leave it like that. These are probably going to get painted a metallic red, just so it matches a lot of the little trim work I have on the car. But overall, this came out pretty decent. My first half bridge. I've done multiple street ports and they all came out perfect. The engine that's actually in the car right now, I did basically a custom street port on it, and I was kind of experimenting with it, and well, I found the flaw of my experimental port. Corner seal caught this little edge right here and sheared it off in the rear rotor, because now the rear rotor has zero compression on all three faces. And that one, I brought this all the way up and all the way forward at a straight angle instead of tapering it down, following the same parallel what the factory did. I followed the parallel line with this one and followed the same parallel line with that one and just brought it all the way back to leave the dead spot. That was all I did on that. To where I shouldn't have the same problem with this one. This motor, on the other hand, ran perfectly fine, passed emissions, and it was awesome. Until Monday morning, a few weeks back, I go to start it up to take it to work, and it ran for like 10, 15 seconds, revved it up, it backfired, and right after it backfired, it shut off. And then when it shut off, I kept on trying to restart it, and it wasn't trying to restart, and I smelt raw gas, so I knew something was up. I wind up pulling both spark plugs out of the lead, stuck a compression tester on it, had 110 psi on all three faces on the front rotor, went to the rear rotor, and it was completely dead. And that's why I'm doing it metallic red to kind of match that. And also, I kind of went overkill already. Those are done. That's done up. That's done up. All that's all done up. I mean, I kind of went a little overkill. I even kind of polished the transmission a little bit. But so far it was running good until that rear rotor grenaded. And it grenaded because of that port. But I'm going to get that motor running. I'm going to purchase the rebuild kit pretty soon. All the seals, corner seals, side seals, everything. I'm doing a solid corner seal with 2-piece apex seals. New springs, new gaskets, new everything, and reassembling it as is. I'm not using Atkins water jackets. I don't like those. I'm using rotary inks gaskets because those are the gaskets that are in there. And if it is true that they are reusable, I should be able to take the water jackets out of this engine because it probably has like 5,000 miles on it. Take those water jackets out, the thermal pellet and a few other goodies, and the water oil pump. And this motor had low compression. And the reason why it had low compression because one of the rotors housing is completely chewed and trashed. Like, you're not getting a corner seal on that. So that rotor housing's trashed. The rotors, on the other hand, looks like it was buried in water because that's all pitting from corrosion, along with the bearings being spun. So I got a matching set of B-weighted rotors with the front rear counterweight and the eccentric shaft. Granted, those bearings aren't any better. Probably just going to replace them. I don't want to, but I will if I have to. And if those seals are usable, I'm going to take those seals out of that motor and come over here and go to this motor and basically reassemble it, clean it all up. They street ported it up right here, but they didn't drop it down right here, so I'm just going to finish dropping it down. And then for the front and rear iron, they wind up porting out the dead spot as well. So I'm just basically going to use those as is. I'm probably not going to do the half bridge. Just going to rebuild this whole setup and basically be running that motor, have this motor as a spare backup, and then whatever's left out of this motor and the parts I have back over there, I'm going to make a third motor, and that one's probably going to be a half bridge. So now I have 3 FC motors. That's a Series 1 RX-8. I'm going to build that with a half bridge. I have another Series 2 RX-8 in my RX-8 right outside here. And then I have another Series 2 RX-8 engine at my shop that I'm currently going to install in that car. And then when I take that motor out, I'm going to see how bad the internals are because it was completely dead on both rotors. And long as the rotors and front and rear iron housings and center housing is savable, I got a new set of rotor housings that I'm going to half bridge that motor and assemble it as well and have a spare backup. That motor I'm probably going to sell over there after I build it and half bridge it, because unfortunately you can't use a Series 1 and a Series 2. That's a little update of what's going on. If you'd like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good one.